And morning, everybody. Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Show. Sorry, let's do that again. And welcome to the Olympian Table. I've got it right this time. And first of all, I'd like to just sort of start off today. As you can see, I'm wearing my Aston Villa Football Club jacket. I'm wearing it for two reasons this morning. One, Aston Villa won the European Championship back in 1982, and unfortunately, one of my heroes passed a couple of days ago. His name was Gary Shaw. He was well loved by all the Villa fans, and I would just like to take just a couple of minutes of silence for Gary. He was a homegrown player. He's loved by all the Villa fans over at Villa Park. So if we just take just a few minutes of silence for Gary. Okay, and then the other thing I'd just like to do is to celebrate that Aston Villa beat Young Boys in the Champions League yesterday by 3-0. And after the match, Unai Emery, in the classy man that he is, said that he was dedicating the match to Gary Shaw, who unfortunately he fell over in his house, had a head injury last Friday. For reasons that we don't know just yet, apparently he passed on Tuesday. So Gary Shaw, you will be missed. You was one of my iconic players back when we won the European Championship and the Super Cup back in 1982. You was an absolutely class act. So hopefully we'll hear more about Gary. Look on YouTube. There's a lot of people covering, the death. We were very shocked with that. But anyway, we are going to move on. So we're going to move on in our normal trait, if you want. And we've got Kay twiddling the buttons at the back. How you doing today, Kay?
I am good.
Yeah, are you living the dream?
I am. It is 6,000 degrees outside, but
Well, I'm looking forward to it getting a bit cooler, I'll be honest with you. My wife is going to Scandinavia, and she's leaving in October, and I think she's looking forward to the cooler weather. But the mistake that Houstonians normally make is they haven't got cold weather, so when they get there, then they're freezing because they've got summer clothes. So we'll see if she makes the same mistake. I've told her to buy me one of them, them Danish hats that comes down and they go down your ears. And it's like a little strip. I told her to buy me one of them hats. But anyway, we're going to start off this morning and we're going to talk about the notion that Trafe is safe after what FBI describes as an assassination attempt. Would you call that an assassination attempt, Kay?
No, wasn't he wasn't even very close to him. I don't even think he had a sniper, right?
Well, he did. He
Okay.
had a scope, and he had all the other stuff that was there. I don't know if I would call it a full assassination attempt, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, he did have apparently an AK-47, and he'd been waiting 12 hours in the bushes for Mr. Trump to go play golf. And when he was on the fifth hole, apparently somebody seen him going into the bushes, got suspicious, got a copy of his number plate, and then they tracked him down, when they seen him leaving the bushes after. But apparently the shots that were fired were the Secret Service. It wasn't the actual, so I wouldn't really, that's the reason why I wouldn't call it a assassination attempt.
Yeah.
It was the Secret Service that was actually, doing the shooting. So, but all I can say is congratulations to the Secret Service for stopping. I do not ever feel that for any party, whichever side of the fence you're on, and you shouldn't be, I think everybody should be open about this. I don't agree with political violence in any shape or form. What I really disagree with is when people say, well, the Democrats have caused this situation. Well, all the people that have shot at Trump have all been Republicans. They've all been MAGA maniacs, or MAGA morons, as I call them. They really have. And you know, if you want to stop the violence, then stop the guns. You know, put restrictions on your guns. You know, because it seems like the guns are coming back and haunting some of the Republicans. Mind you, I personally don't want to see a full ban on guns, but I do think that the way that we, this guy apparently that they looked at, apparently in 2002, he was in a hostage situation. He was taken to court with an AK-47 again, and here he is 20 years after taking a shot at the president.
Yeah, he wasn't in a hostage situation. He was the perpetrator of the hostage situation, which is interesting. And I think that's where the gun thing happens, because he did live in Florida, and Florida is a state, much like Texas, who they have gun shows. You know, you don't have to show anything at all to purchase a gun at a gun show. All you need to do
Not
is
even a driving license?
Nope.
So you physically go in there. If you look, was it 18? You can go in there and just buy a gun, pay cash for it.
Yeah, you don't even have to look 18, to be honest. I mean, I've gone to gun shows multiple times, and they don't.
So they let you go into gun shows and video? Do they let you go into gun shows and video?
Yeah, there was actually a kid.
We need to go to a video. We need to go to a gun show.
To a gun show? We should go to the gun show. There's a kid who went, and he was, I believe, 16 or 17. He walked around the gun show and he purchased a pistol. You don't have to show anything. The only thing that they do at the gun show is if you come in, because you can also come in with a gun. You and I can have a gun. All they do is they make sure that it's not loaded, and then they give you like
Is it the
a zip tie so that you can't like pull the trigger and stuff like that, because they sell ammo at the gun show.
Right.
So
yeah, so it's a bit like going in a gun range. You have to go in a gun range, and it has to be in a box, and both articles can't be together.
Yes, but no, it's not like that at all. You don't have to have it in a box. People carry their guns on their backs with them.
But there just has to be a tag.
A tag. It has to. Yeah, that they just zip tie the trigger so that you don't pull the trigger. That's all it is. Because people say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna sell this gun," but they just want to show it off. You see people who are, clearly from the country with them. You see people who, might be drug dealers at the gun show.
That's the part that's hard with this country, because there's so many different types of terrain. Where in some parts of the country, in all fairness, we do need guns.
Yeah, we do.
It's like we have a war problem down in Texas, and people say, well, we don't need AK-47s. Well, I can guarantee you there's people that pay to go up on choppers and shoot the boars down in South Texas, because they are an absolute menace. They, they've dug up agriculture that caused $1 million worth of damage.
They're also very aggressive if you're near them, and they will chase you, and they are fast.
Yeah.
They are not pigs.
I think I've told you the story. I had a property once that I was selling, and it was a doctor from the medical centre. He'd been transferred up to, where was it? I think it was Portland, and his house was vacant, and I went to his house one day, and the landscapers were there finishing everything off. It was a house, I think it was valued at like $800,000 at the time. It was nearly $1 million. It wasn't quite $1 million. And then I went there literally a week after, and his yard was completely torn up. I mean, we're talking like a mud pile.
From boars?
And it was full of boars. And there was a forest at the back. And what had happened is the boars had come out of the forest and just chewed up his yard.
Oh.
So what they was after, I don't know. Was it moles? I really don't know. But it was nasty, whatever it was. Anyway, have I got a question for you today? By the way, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Have I got a question for you today? All right. I want everybody to please put in the chat how many times they think Mr. President Trump has been sued. How many times do you think he's been sued, Kay?
I would have said like 250. I would say, I think I would have guessed 250.
These are civil lawsuits.
Yeah.
So how many times has he sued or has somebody else tried to sue him? How many lawsuits has Mr. Trump been involved in?
How many?
How many would you say?
I said 250.
250? Over 4,000. Which I think, just demonstrates to me that the legal system in this country is really upside down. Because if you're involved in that many lawsuits, I think what Mr. Trump has proved through all the lawsuits that have been going on, it's not that it's all one-sided. What it really proves is if you have the money and if you have the funds, you can basically kick the can down the road. So it basically goes to the person with the most money to get it thrown out of court. And it gets to a position where whoever's got the most money can just carry on, and the person that hasn't got the funds to fight just decides to give up at the finish. So for the people, of the lower end of the scale, and I just wanted to bring up, if we could, the Donald Trump settlement and lawsuits, if we could bring that up, that graphic, which I think is pretty interesting to bring up. Trump's lawsuits and the greatest hits.
Yeah, these are obviously not all of them. These are just a few. Yeah. And kind of the most, I think these are like the most absurd ones or like the most interesting ones too. So. Yeah.
So 1970, Trump versus United States Justice Department. Trump's real estate company, the Trump Corporation, was sued by the Civil Rights Division by the U.S. Justice Department for allegedly preventing people of color from renting in their properties. The trial ended in a settlement 2 years later that required the Trump Corporation to submit lists of vacancies to civil rights organizations. Trump and the Central Park South tenants, that was, I think, disgusting, to be perfectly honest. I remember that, reading about that when I was in Europe. The tenants of recently purchased Trump Park apartment complex was sued. Park South Associates, a Trump-owned company managing the property. The tenants alleged that the Trump was using the company to force out rent-controlled tenants through a variety of abusive tactics so he could demolish the building. This trial was settled 3 years later, with the tenants still living in their homes and Trump paying out $550,000 to their attorneys.
Yeah, that's a lot like the story that I told you about Donald Trump too, where a woman, she lived in her house. She had lived there for like 30 years, and she was just like she was a little grandma, and they wanted to build.
It was an old house in between his houses. Is that the one?
Not in between his houses, but yes, because he built one of like his towers, one of his giant towers, one of his buildings, and she said, no, I don't want to, he kept offering her money. She said no, kind of like the movie Up. And then he essentially got the city to condemn the house, so she had to move. So, but he got the city to condemn the house, and they ended up tearing it down, so she had no choice but to move. So I don't even believe that she made any money from, it being sold. So he just does this a lot, apparently. So.
Yeah, 1986, Trump versus the NFL. As one of the owners of a team in the short-lived United States Football League, Trump convinced the rest of the league to sue the National Football League, NFL, for $1.7 billion due to antitrust law violations. They won the lawsuit but only received a payment of $3, which ultimately led to the death of the USFL. So well done, Donald Trump, for killing that. A lot of people could have enjoyed that in the long run.
Those people,
for the sake of $3.
Those people probably hate him. There's no way that the whole USFL does not hate him. They got $3.
Yeah, no. Trump versus Marvin Ruffman. During Trump's renovation of his Atlantic Club casino, Trump Taj Mahal financial and analyst Marvin Rothman, stated to the press that it would be successfully based on the analysts. After being fired from his company after being harshly criticized by Trump, Rothman filed a defamation lawsuit against Trump for $2 million. The case was privately settled for an undisclosed amount, but Rothman has stated that he was very happy with the results. So perhaps he got his $2 million.
Yeah. I'm probably certain he would have been happy. I think 1990, he would have been happy with $1 million, you know?
Yeah, and then this is the one that was very surprised at when I first read this. And this keeps coming up. 1992, Trump versus Palm Beach County, which is where Mar-a-Lago is. Trump sued the county of Palm Beach, Florida, of $50 million when they wouldn't allow him to renovate his newly purchased Mar-a-Lago resort into rentable mini mansions. After a lot of arguing, this suit was settled and Trump decided to convert the property into a private club instead. Okay, now he doesn't stop there. All right, there's something else that comes in between. 1995, after approaching Donald Trump to organize a beauty competition for their American Dream Festival, businessman George Horane and his company American Dream Enterprise for a breach of contract. This suit was settled a few years later as a result of another lawsuit filed by Horane's partner. Now here we go. Remember the 1992 incident? We get to 1995. So basically Trump wanted to make this into a private club. Then 1995, Trump versus Palm Beach County again. There's nothing like pissing off, the local community that you live in. All right. So the residents of Palm Beach must really, be pissed off with him now. Trump sued Palm Beach County again for $100 million this time, claiming that the city was harassing him and his Mar-a-Lago visitors by directing air traffic over his property. The lawsuit was settled after a lengthy legal process when the city leased Trump 215 acres of land that he converted into a golf course. Now, does that seem a bit strange to you? Does that honestly seem strange to you to get that sort of settlement on a deal?
I mean,
I'll tell you what.
Trump.
What's that?
I said it's Trump. He's a.
That to me, that's the first sign of corruption. It's not a point. It's not a point of. It's not clean because the city is still involved in the decision. The city is still hopefully getting something out of that, you with me? Mm-hmm. In the way of, a fee of some sort. I personally think Trump brought that on because he wanted to lease the land to do his golf course, Trump versus Jill Hart. During the event, I'm not going to read any more.
Yeah,
because look, we're only up to 1997.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Trump versus Deutsche Bank, Trump versus Warner Books, Trump versus Tarka Makoff and Art Cohen, Trump versus New York Attorney General, Trump versus Washington, Minnesota and Hawaii, Trump versus Stormy Daniels, Trump versus Deutsche Bank again and Capital One. The guy's the biggest crook and loser, that we could ever wish for.
I wish I had Donald Trump money to just silence my enemies.
I don't think he's got any money. That's the thing. I think the money he's raising through the Republican Party at the moment. I mean, I think he's using a lot of this money that's raised through the Republican Party to.
Well, maybe currently.
To pay his legal fees.
Maybe currently, but I mean, like in the past, obviously he's filed for bankruptcy a ton and he's been bailed out a lot. But I mean, he's still got maybe not as much money as people think, but I mean, he still has a ton of money. Just, he knows when to use other people's money, such as the Republican Party, and when to not use his own
I think
money.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
He's definitely stealing.
But I do think that he steals people's other money. It's like when he was in, what was he, when he was president and they went to China with Z, Ivanka came back with 20 copyrights for different things. I mean, how corrupt and crooked is that?
Yeah, what?
She came back with 20 copyrights so she could do business in China. How long would that normally take, and how much paperwork would that normally take? All right,
I think Donald Trump, like I've said before, I think he's very good at convincing people, and that is what.
He's an entertainer. That's why.
Yeah, but he's good at convincing people. I mean, he found a way to do so, and unfortunately, he convinced people to let him run for president and things like that. But I mean, like we just read. He convinced, the owners of the USFL to all sue the NFL, but then they, it bit them, in the butt, but he still was able to do it, and they only got $3, but I think this is a great, a great view of essentially what you would kind of get with listening to him, because his business ventures, might be good ideas at the time, but it's still one of those things where it's like you don't really get much back, or there's like always going to be some type of backlash. So, I don't know.
I mean, in that list that we read, we didn't mention Trump Steaks. We didn't mention Trump University. We didn't mention, what else was there? Trump Steaks, Trump Universities. Wasn't there a Trump Whiskey or something? Or something alcoholic? I mean, Trump sneakers. I'm waiting for that one to go bump next time. I mean, at the moment he's flogging Trump robes.
People are not going to sue him over that, though. That's what I mean. Like, because that was the list of the lawsuits. But I mean, people think that what he does is good. I mean, all you need is a cult following. There were people. There was a girl who. She played video games online, and she was really cute, and she sold her bath water. And she sold her bath water for like...
I remember that.
Like $2,000. But it wasn't even her bath water. It was just, water. And she,
made it look
bottled
like
it. Not even she just bottled it, and she named it Gamer Girl bath water or something. Someone even purchased it. And did one of her fans purchased it, and he was really upset because he did microbiology. He was a biologist or something, and he did scientific tests. And he's like, "There's no proof that there's skin follicles in here." And it's like, she didn't say she was gonna get in the bath water. You weirdo! Why are you mad about it? So people, if they like you enough, they will literally, and you're good at marketing, they will purchase whatever you sell them. And that's what the dangerous thing is about Donald Trump, is because what he's selling is the United States. He is selling the presidency, and that's what
I don't think he's selling the United States. I think he's selling himself. That's what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's selling himself, and people need to open up
their minds
and get wiser, to what they're getting into, because we're getting into something where if we take the wrong turn, it's like going down a cul-de-sac we're not going to be able to get out.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on, believe it or not, to one of my heroes. I
don't think you should call him a hero.
Not now. Not now.
Maybe someone you admire.
But let me tell you, from somebody that's always enjoyed classical music, that's always enjoyed pop, from my age group, the 80s, 90s music, I really started to get into hip hop through a guy called Puff Daddy, Sean Diddy Combs. Did he change his name?
He changes his name all the time. He changed his name to P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs, Brother Love. He changes his name all the time.
One of my favourite music videos is I'll Be Missing You, where he's got him and Sting. And I'm going to have that played at my funeral. But to be perfectly honest, I had some really bad news this morning. Kay brought it to me and we're going to show the article. But Sean Diddy had his bail denied this morning on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Now,
that's great news.
Kay thinks it's great news. I think it's sad to see anybody in this situation, but at the same time, for the things that they're accusing him of, guess what? It's pretty serious. After a judge denied this bail on Tuesday, Sean Diddy Coombs filed an appeal this morning regarding the judge's decision to keep him in federal custody. The expected appeal reiterates that Coombs is not at risk of flight or danger to anyone in the community. I don't know if I could believe that, to be perfectly honest. With the money he's got, he could be gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
He was supposed to be, he was arrested.
A 50 million bond?
Yeah, but he was arrested on Monday. He was supposed to be arrested on Tuesday, but they were afraid that he was actually going to flee the country before his arrest. Like, he was scheduled to be arrested. He was scheduled to turn himself in on Tuesday, but then they got afraid, so they arrested him on Monday. So that's probably why his bail is not getting denied. But yeah. They're saying that if he is convicted, he faces a mandatory minimum of 15 years and could face up to life in prison. Because he's not, I mean, yes, he's being accused of a lot of things, but there are also things that are on video as well. And that is what a big thing is. I mean, we saw the video.
Is the 15-year charge based on the video that they seen when he abused his girlfriend at the time in 2016?
It's those, and then they raided his house as well, and they raided his his Florida house, his Miami house. It was raided, and they found a lot of tapes and things like that. They took a lot of his hard drives as well. So.
Because the part that confuses me, it says in which women would be coerced into having sex with male sex workers.
He would force them to. What he was doing was he was drugging a lot of people.
He was drugging the women.
Drugging everybody. They were called. So he had parties, like after parties, celebrity after parties. He called them freak offs. So after, it'd be like, hey, Stephen, let's go to this party, whatever, blah, 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 right? And then after a certain amount of time, some people who knew what was going on would be like, hey, you might want to leave right now because it's about to get weird, you got to leave early, at about, 12:30, you might want to get out of this party. And then that's when, all the weird stuff would happen, people would be drunk. And then it's like the Harvey Weinstein thing, right? Because Harvey Weinstein also went to jail for this because he was essentially taking people who were younger people or people who were trying to get in the industry, like Harvey, what Harvey Weinstein was doing, and he was essentially using his power to coerce them into, sleeping with him, or he'd be like, you're not going to get the role if you don't do this. You're not getting the role if, this happens and that happens and things like that. So that's what P. Diddy was doing to a lot of people. And he'd be like, hey, come to this party. And then he'd be like, sleep with this person.
He's got video recordings of this as well.
There are videos, Justin Bieber, one of the reasons that Justin Bieber was having, he wrote a song called Yummy, and everybody's like, it's such a nice song. But in reality, P. Diddy was one of his producers and things like that, and he was introduced to P. Diddy when he was very, very young, and he's he might be one of the witnesses in these cases. A lot of bigger entertainers, or a lot of entertainers that were kind of like in the middle of their careers and starting their careers, were coming out and saying this, and that's why it all was blowing up, because people have been saying this for a really long time, but with the release of the video, and then so many people started coming forward about the situation. Now it's, they finally started taking it even more seriously. So that's one of the
The
things.
R&B singer, Cassie, that's
the girl that was on film.
Right, but who was the one where he sang I'll Be Missing You?
That's Faith Evans.
Who's that?
Faith Evans.
Faith Evans. She's a fantastic singer.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I don't know. People are saying that
How long do you think he'll go away for? Because it's not just slapping around a girl in a hallway in a hotel.
yeah.
If
I
there's
don't know.
video and they've got all his drives and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, hey. I mean, it says he has a minimum of 15 years to life. He's mandatorily gonna have to serve 15 years. He probably will get, 5 years and then the rest on probation and things like that with the money that he has. But because like we talked about the legal system here.
But it's right that he should be. It's right that he should be punished for what he's done. But to be perfectly honest, what a creative mind, are you with me? Do you understand? From a music industry. I mean, I think he's so creative. But at the same time, you know what? You don't go by the rules, then you should be punished.
Everybody. I mean, but that's the problem. I mean, that's what the issue. It's the same thing with Trump. I mean, in 2011,
You should go by the rules. If you do something wrong, you should be punished.
Yeah, like I said, same thing with Trump. He's great at convincing people to do things, but he should be punished as well. He should be going to jail. Same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was an amazing movie producer. Put some great, wonderful movies out. Should go to jail. So, like every person, there's so many creative minds and so many people who do different things. They're just crappy people, and it sucks.
Absolutely.
It just sucks.
I'm just going to say it again. Please like and subscribe to the video. It does help us sort of reach out there. The next thing we're going to talk about is something that I remember in my 80s when I was skating and I was working part-time, and my mother would do my sandwiches and she'd do my lunch or whatever. And I was trying to eat as healthy as I could when I was skating, training for the Olympics. And there was this new company that came into the market, and it was called Tupperware. Well, Tupperware have announced that they are going bankrupt. So Tupperware, it's been announced today that they filed for bankruptcy. US brand Tupperware has filed for bankruptcy as it struggles to survive in the face of sliding sales. The food storage container firm said it will ask for court permission to start a sale of the business that it aimed to continue operating. The 78-year-old firm has become as synonymous with food storage that many people use its name when referring to any old plastic container. Despite attempts to freshen up its products in recent years and reposition itself to a younger audience, it has failed to stand out of its competitors. Did they ever try to sell this on a multi-level marketing scheme? Is that because they used to have Tupperware parties in Europe?
Yeah, that's
where they would invite everybody, and I got invited to a Tupperware party and I bought some Tupperware. I'll never forget that, because I ended up, whenever I was skating, my mother would, because I really couldn't afford to go out there and buy food, my mother would always go out there and do some food.
Yeah, they would have the Tupperware parties. That was the thing for, they marketed towards like housewives, right? And it was like, oh, if you're a housewife but you want to help, you want to make some extra cash, you sell Tupperware, to people. And it's like you're selling it to housewives who are, now also Tupperware people.
I'll tell you what, let's have a bit of fun. Name some other companies that came out similar models at that time as well.
Avon.
Remember
Avon.
Mary Kay.
Mary Kay. I was going to say Mary Kay. The knife. Did you ever have the knife thing?
No.
So they had the knife thing, but instead of targeting, housewives, they targeted teenagers who were about to graduate. I mean, every person that I knew, we all got it in the mail from like our school. We all got it. Oh, we're hiring, and it was door-to-door knife sales. It would literally be door-to-door knife sales.
They do
That's
that
what
for
they would
real
do.
estate, where people come in and try to sell us knives.
Yeah.
And then it's got people's names on that we close houses on.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cool. No,
and it's got the agent's name on and stuff. And the other one is Mary Kay.
The other one is Mary Kay, but yeah, Mary Kay.
Who do you think is better, Mary Kay or Avon?
I don't know. I know a lot of Avon saleswomen. There was another company that did the same thing, but they moved to online instead of having it in the books. They moved to online as well, and they'd be like, people were like, "Oh, I like your eyelashes," and they're like, "Oh, I got it from here." And they'd send you the link, but it was a link that had their face on it, and they wanted you had to purchase specifically from them. It was so interesting. I can't remember.
There was another company. I'll think of it in a bit. Me and my wife was talking about it last night when we was actually talking about this.
I can't believe Tupperware, but I think they have a great point. You know, everyone will call their plastic containers Tupperware. Have you ever heard of the Container Store?
Yes.
Have you ever been there?
Yes.
It's just all Tupperware or whatever,
Or
and then just containers
or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that's what they should do. They got to make sure that name is trademarks and get paid every time somebody says Tupperware. But I did not know that Tupperware was founded by a man named Earl Tupper.
I know the other company, Amway.
What is Amway?
Amway? You've never heard of Amway? They sell all sorts of stuff, from oils to... it's a multi-level marketing system. I don't know if they're even allowed to call it a multi-level marketing system now. Amway Corp is an American multi-level marketing company that sells health, beauty, and home care products. The company was founded in 1959 by J. Van Andel and Richard DeVos and is based in Ada, Michigan. Amway and its sister companies under Alticorp reported sales of $8.9 billion in 2019.
That is so interesting. I feel bad for Tupperware, though. I mean...
I do as well, because it's sort of one of the traditional, guys out there. To me, it's part of my history that's gone.
I was going to say, it's one of those things that I feel like everyone kind of grew up using, you know?
When you were people, think of all the kids that were at school using Tupperware in them days.
Exactly. I mean, even now,
with their peanuts and butter jelly sandwiches.
You have people who are so obsessed with meal prepping right now too, but they're not using Tupperware. They're using the super cheap, thin, thing.
No, do you know? Let me tell you, my wife has got literally. She doesn't know, but I throw these out when she's not. When she's not around, I throw them out. You know when you get something and it's a takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
She brings the containers home and she reuses the takeaway.
My mom does that.
And it gets to the point where there's so much. I literally throw them in the recycling. All right, and she doesn't realise.
My mom uses them. I mean, really, you get maybe 2 uses out of them before you do have to toss them away. But I'm trying to see. But what I was going to say is so many people are so obsessed with meal prepping, for health and things like that. They have these very, very cheap containers where they're so thin and they're only good for a few uses. They're only good for like the Tupperware containers or the to-go containers that your wife and my mom use. You get maybe 3 uses out of them, but. So it's interesting.
Tupperware, you could use them more than 3 times.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what the difference is that's why I'm on the Tupperware website, kind of trying to see their stuff, but I see where they should have leaned more into that, but I guess their stuff is too long lasting.
The thing is, at the moment now, I think a lot of the younger kids, in all fairness, they prep their food more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, my son, he works from home, but you know what he does? Weekends, he cooks for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, he might freeze them or whatever, but he keeps his little containers and his portion control,
mm-hmm.
because he works out, he's working out now, and he keeps his portion control, for the week.
That's what I do too. I cook every Sunday and every Wednesday,
mm-hmm.
just to make sure that, I can kind of... It also helps keep the kitchen clean, so you don't have to cook every day.
Well, actually, me and my wife, every night we have we like to eat
mm-hmm.
and cook in the kitchen together. But the only problem is, at 9 o'clock at night, she does all the dishes, and I take the dogs for a walk. Because I'm telling you, it's taxing on her. In all fairness, and I love her dearly. But the truth of the matter is, it's I know there's a dishwasher, but you've still got to clean your dishes before you put them in the dishwasher.
I don't use the dishwasher ever. There's a thing where, because I think a lot of your wife's Asian, and I think a lot of minorities they don't really use their dishwasher. My mom does not trust the dishwasher. So, but there's a show called Fresh Off the Boat, and it's about a first generation American family, like both their
Asians.
parents. Yeah. And so they found out the dishwasher. They went to their friend's house, and their friend's mom was like, "What's going on with your driving rack?"
That's a really good series, by the way. I like that series.
They're like, "What's going on with your driving rack?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, what is this? What's going on with it? And he's like, the dishwasher? And then he goes home to his brother, and he's like, "Mom's been lying to us. She's been making us do dishes, but this is not a drying rack. It's a dishwasher." The whole time they thought that, so they were mad that they were washing dishes because they had never heard of it.
But they reckon that if you use your dishwasher and it's on hot, it's a better wash than more sterile than.
Oh, you sterilize it, yeah. Have you seen people cooking in their dishwashers?
No.
Oh, I'm going to show you some videos next week.
What could you cook in a dishwasher?
I don't know. People are gross, Stephen. People are gross. Somebody was cooking spaghetti in their dishwasher. They're gross.
No.
Because they were cleaning it first. They were cleaning it out first, and then they were literally putting their, because, oh my gosh, they were just steaming stuff. It was just gross. Let's see.
No, don't even look. Let's not talk about it. I don't want to even talk about it. We'll talk about it on another episode, okay? I don't want to talk about how people cook in their dishwashers, all right?
It's so gross.
It just sounds completely gross.
But the last thing that we have, speaking of not talking, I guess, we have Facebook.
So, Facebook have just announced through Meta that it's going to ban some of Russian state media with the Ukraine crisis. The Facebook owner Meta says it's going to ban several Russian state media networks, alleging they use deceptive tactics to conduct influence operations and avoid detection on its platforms. After careful consideration, we expanded our ongoing enforcement against Russian state media outlets, Rosoya, Sendoya, RT, and other related entities are now banned from our apps globally for foreign interference activity, Meta said. In a news bulletin, RT newsreader Ewan O'Neill said that the broadcaster and Russia as a whole denies the accusations that they have been coming on message against the channel and others in the past number of days. I think it's good that they just take out the Russian stuff, because it's all messy anyway.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of led to this is that they said that the U.S. accused the state broadcast RT of paying Tennessee firm $7.6 million, $10 million to create and distribute content to U.S. audience with hidden Russian government messaging. So that was one of the things that kind of started this, escalated it. And, a lot of right-wing people said that they were victims of the Russian plot. And so, yeah, they paid they paid someone $10 million to kind of, I guess, try to brainwash them.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Well, apparently Russia was paying some of the influencers over here to spread misinformation.
Yeah, that's what they said, that they were victims and they didn't realize that that's what they were doing. But it's like, why don't you pay attention to what you're saying if you're that easily
Right.
influenced? So
Yeah.
so that's one of the things. But social media outlets have actually been doing that a lot. They've been taking down a lot of people who they deem harmful to their platforms. Like, I think we talked about this a few months ago on the podcast, when, there are the alpha male podcasts, where they're like, oh, women are terrible and you should not talk to women, and they were influencing the youth and things like that. And a lot of those podcasts also got banned from, like YouTube and, Facebook and things like that. And so now they're going to right-wing platforms, like a platform called Rumble, and they're talking through there. And, people were getting mad because they're like, oh, it's freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. But people don't realize that these are social media platforms. They're not the government. The freedom of speech only protects you from the government. So
Right.
platforms can take down anything that they decide that they want
Right.
to.
I
So
totally agree with that.
it's,
Yeah.
so it's the same thing with these Russians. They shouldn't be upset.
Yeah. And then there's one thing that I've just put in that Gay didn't, but I thought this was pretty amazing. I heard about this morning. Amazon is now telling people to get back to the office. Get back to the office. We want you to go back to the office. And all the staff are coming out and basically saying, did you see the I hate commuting?
Yeah.
So Amazon are basically saying we want you back to the office 5 days a week as it ends its hybrid work policy. The change will come into force from January. Amazon's chief executive, Andy Jassy, said in a memo to staff, we've decided that we're going to return to being in the office the way we were before the onset of COVID, he said, adding that it would help staff be better set up to invent, collaborate, and be connected enough to each other. And I agree with that. When you're in an office environment, I do think there's more collaboration between the staff. Mr. Jassy has long been known as a skeptic of remote work, but Amazon staff were previously allowed to work from home 2 days a week. Let me tell you something. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a remote call with a company or somebody, and they say, just hold on, I've got to go let my dog out. Just hold on, I've got to go do something or other, in the house. And I think it's a good tool to have. I like my Zoom and I like my Teams, but I do think we're at a point now where we need to try and get back to
normalcy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I have a mixed view about this. So one of my things is I like the way a few of
Was I surprised that you were going to say that?
I have a few friends who work for banks. They all work for different banks. I've got friends who work for Chase and Wells Fargo and things like that. And so the way that they do it is very similar to what Amazon has right now, and they have it to where they choose the 2 days out of the week that they work from home. And I think that, okay, if you're going to schedule your meetings, don't schedule them on the days that you work from home. Schedule them during the days that you're going to be in the office. I think 2 days a week is a fair amount because, commuting, the commute, especially in Houston, is awful. That's one of the reasons that this office is open at 10 o'clock.
Do you know what I think the problem's going to be? I'll tell you the problem it's going to be. People that they employed on a remote basis might not be near to their offices.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, you've got to come into the office.
Yep. And it's like, oh.
And then they've got a bit of a problem here. Yeah, and I'll give you a typical example. My son, his company are in Dallas.
Yeah.
So if they say to him, well, you've got to come in, knowing my son like I do, I don't know if he's going to make the right decision.
Yeah, he's not going to move to Dallas.
All right. He wants to be too close to his mommy.
Yeah.
And I say that with a great deal of love. But the truth of the matter is, he may decide to go to Dallas. In all fairness, he's expressed an opinion about he's got some friends in Dallas, and he might decide to move to Dallas.
Yeah.
I just hope he uses me as his realtor.
That's so funny. So they're saying that it's different from the UK's approach, where the government's approach promised to make flexible working a default right away from day one, as a part of the new employment rights bill that was published. So, which is very, very similar to what we were talking about. They say that it does foster a culture of presentationism, to where, I was talking to someone in this office about it yesterday. When you go to the office, you're used to, you wear your suit, you go in, you're not wearing jeans and things like that. When you come into the office, you're really trying to dress. But during COVID, that culture shifted. People were in sweatpants to the office.
It was slippers and gym jams.
Exactly, because no one was looking. So,
mind you, saying that, we do get people that come into our office in slippers and gym jams.
Hey, when it gets cold, it will be me.
I'm not saying anything, Kay.
It's me. When it gets cold, I'm wearing my slippers. But
I'm not saying a word on who comes in sometimes and is behind that little keyboard that you've got that's got slippers and gym jams on.
But I think that flexible working arrangements are fun. Because I also think that a lot of people have a hard time going into the office because, people like you said, people who might live too far away from the offices. The commutes in Houston are just disgusting. I mean, it takes an hour and a half. If you leave at the wrong time, it takes you an hour and a half to get to work. It's just awful.
But not in your case. We offer to pick you up all the time.
Oh, no, I know.
You turn us down.
I'm not talking about me, though.
And even when we take you home, we offer to take you home, and you don't want us to take you home.
Yeah, I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about just in general, like people who are
I'm just
Houston.
picking on you. Don't
And, so I think it's a fair thing to talk about working schedules. And I personally think it's interesting that...
I think it depends what type of work that you do. And I'll give an example. One of our agents, all right, she's looking after her mother. She's got dementia. So what she actually does is she works, I believe, for Bank of America on the call center at home while she's looking after her mom. Mm-hmm. Mom's got dementia. She has to change her occasionally and do everything else. But she works, I think, a couple of nights a week, for Bank of America on the call center on her computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what one of my friends does. She works for Chase, and but she doesn't work from home every day. She works from home. She has certain set days. It's like Tuesday and I think it's actually Wednesday and Sunday. Those are her days off. She works 2 days out of the week. They get to choose which days they have off. Same thing with my friend. He works for Bank of America. Gets to choose the days off. So I think that's a fair thing. If you're in the office 3 days a week and you can work from home 2 days a week, I think that's, and you're paying attention, you're actually doing your work, that's fine. But like I said, I would personally not schedule my meetings on days that I work from home. That's just, I think that's, you have to take your dogs out, you have to let them in. Because I've been on calls like that too, where, people have been like, oh yeah, that's my kid in the background. And it's like, what? Go.
I did a class that I paid quite a lot of money for trading.
Yeah. And
I got that all the time, and it pissed me off that I just didn't renew the class, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating.
So anyway. So that's the Olympian Table for today. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Once again, we'd like to show our, please rest in peace, Gary Shaw, who was a legend over for Aston Villa Football Club. I really want to dedicate this show, to be perfectly honest, to Gary. I would have loved to meet him when I was, in my 20s. He was one of my idols as a footballer, especially when we won the European Cup and also the World Super Cup. But anyway, we'd like you, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll see you next week. Thumbs up, stay healthy, and stay tuned. Thanks so much.